Guys, welcome in the show anyway. And it's for me exciting to have you guys over here, because for today it was actually the perfect moment to launch your project Turnaround on the label of Armada from Armin van Buuren. But it was already released years ago on Multiply. The first question is, of course, how did you got this project going on since that moment? Because it was huge from that moment.
Yeah, we basically it was the internet that kind of happened. Well, how did we come about working with Armada this time? Is that question?
Well, it's more about how did you got this project from? I think it was 1999 when you signed at Multiply Records.
Right. How did it start back then?
Yeah.
It was basically I was doing a thing called DJ Phats. I was working for DMC and for Full Intentions label, Sugar Daddy and Stress Records, which was part of the Mix Mag crowd, and I was doing remixes for them and hooking up with the Brothers in Rhythm and people like that. As DJ Phats, I also had a label called Afro Cuts that I run, which we had like Fatboy Slim and Daft Punk were sort of heavily supporting it, and the whole Phats&Small thing come around. It was just going into the studio, sort of taking that project to the next level and throwing some ideas around, and then Turnaround was kind of born.
It was really good. It was really good, and you got some remix from that moment. I was with Olive Bozowski, and even Norman Cook made a remix of it.
Yeah, and Todd Terry as well. There's a Todd Terry mix somewhere.
I need to hear this about it. He need to hear this about his friends of the show, of course. But how did you got with your free involved with this project? Because with a singer, this Ben.
Yeah.
And two DJs in the video clip, of course, with you, Phats, and Mr. Small, or better say it's Mr. Russell's. How did you meet each other?
Well, we were just sort of DJs in Brighton, so we that's how that kind of come about.
Yeah, the two boys, Russ and Jason, were old school DJs. Well, not old school DJs, but the DJs in Brighton, and I was singing in a pop band at the time. And then the pop band that I was in the 90s, it was like an R&B band, that split, and then it just gave me time to be sort of free and be able to try out different things. I'd met Jason in the studio in the 90s, but I was with the band and he was doing something else, but we got on anyway. So when the band split, he gave me a call. I went down to Brighton, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Did you expect it from the moment when you released that one on Multiply that it was so huge?
Yeah. I mean, nobody really expects a record to kind of take off like that. I mean, it's it just gathered momentum and then went global, and it was before the internet was around, so it was done on a kind of it was more a sort of word of mouth thing. It kind of in Germany is a great example of how music sort of permeates through Europe, and America as well. It would move from territory to territory, to town. Each station would pick it up, and then next thing we know, we're flying out to Jakarta in Indonesia and getting the keys to the city from the local mayor, because and we're the first international DJs to play out there. It was just it was nuts. Pretty much everywhere in the world we went, everybody knew the record, and they still do. There's still that phenomenal presence.
It's outstanding still, because I just digged it from my record collection. I made a picture of it, and the picture is going through the world. I've noticed by Facebook, because I met Jason at Amsterdam Dance Event some couple of years ago, and I remember you were mentioned to say, hey, it's coming, Gerard, it's coming, the new edition of Turnaround on Armada Records. What was the feeling when you started this at Armada Records? Whose idea was it to release it again?
It was the internet, really. Ben had got in touch with and some guys had done a remix, and then we started talking about it, and I'd been working on it over the years, but we were still doing gigs and we were still writing together. We haven't stopped working together, myself and Ben, but we were kind of like, let's sort of do something
different. Yeah. I mean, the thing is with the musician is that you're always you never really want to go back on yourself. You're always trying to push things forward. But sometimes when you have a record like Turnaround, it's not like we're going back on ourselves, but it's a celebration of something that a record that we were lucky enough to be planted in the history of dance music. I think there are very few. There are loads of really good dance records, but there aren't, you know, millions of classics. And Turnaround, we were very fortunate to have a classic record, so we just felt it was right. You know, it took 17 years later. We just felt it was the right time to celebrate it, celebrate the music, and also, you know, we really feel that in the air, the generation now are discovering, they're going back, especially with the Daft Punk record with Pharrell and Nile Rodgers, they're going back to those funk samples and they're starting to rediscover their roots, we feel.
Yeah.
When we were out at the ADE last year, I think I saw you out there. I hooked up with, you know, it was like Kenny Dope, there was Todd Terry, there were Masters at Work, you know, Little Louis Vega was there as well. There was Kerry Chandler, all these people, and it was like everyone was kind of there, and it was, you know, I always aspired to, when I started producing, I aspired to be like these guys. You know, Todd Terry was one of, when I was like 13 and sort of 19, no, it would have been about 16 years old. It would have been 1986, 87 when those really, really early like Todd Terry productions were out there, and then to sort of be amongst these people, and they're getting that kind of resurgence where, like, you know, MK's huge at the moment. I mentioned Kerry Chandler before. These people are getting the recognition that they kind of deserve, and they were excited that we were working again, and it was overwhelming. The response has been fantastic. And Armada, the reason why we went with Armada is because they're like a family. You know, we flew out to Amsterdam and we met the crew, and it was and they sort of encourage that sort of creativity, which is what we love about the guys. So yeah, it's exciting, you know. It's good. It's I think one of the things I love about it, and aside from the fact we're doing it again, is, like I say, there's a lot of old producers that didn't really get the recognition they deserve, and now they certainly are. So it's good to see.
Why did you sing the whole song again, new recordings, but with the lyrics Ben? Why did you do that? Why didn't you say, well, this all other old tapes and everyone knows it, and it's just try it again?
I just think that it was just, there's a few reasons for it. Number one, when you make a record, the sad thing about the music business is that there's a business side to it. Yeah. And the truth is, we didn't own them. We didn't own the masters.
Okay.
Right. So that I mean, and that's a sign with most people who have records. You know, very few people own. You signed to a record company, so the record company owned it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately now, multiply don't exist anymore.
I know.
Which made it even more difficult to trace it out, because we had a very, very good relationship. So if they were still around, I'm sure we could have talked about it and done it.
We've seen you've been out for dinner with the MD.
With the MD. So yeah, you know, I know. It was run by a guy called Mike Paul, and I still know him, and so he doesn't really own the stuff anymore. So that was number one. And number two, you know, we are musicians, and we do really want to push things forward. And even though it's a celebration, we felt that the children's ears or kids' ears, adults' ears, is sonically changed through the years. So what you could make in 1999 won't stand now sonically, because so much sounds and equipment has gone forward. So I felt it needed a different boost of vocal. I felt that, you know, Jason felt that, you know, the drums needed to be tighter and stuff like that. So it's being reintroduced. It's almost the same, but it's sonically better.
Nice. What is coming up next with you guys after this one? New projects coming up? The future plans?
Well, if you check the video online, the video's just gone up, people. So whoever's listening to this, go on the Armada website.
Armada Music YouTube.
Armada Music YouTube.
I will put it on our website. Don't worry about that. We will claim some space for you guys. I'm running out of time anyway. Thank you for being our guest for tonight in the show, and I will look forward for the next projects anyway.
Yeah, the next project is bolted onto the end of the video.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, if you watch the video at the end, you can hear the new song.
We're gonna check it out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
5 oorlogsjaren waren we het kwijt. Sinds de bevrijding geven we het door. Van generatie op generatie. Dat is belangrijk, zeker als je beseft dat niet alle landen deze vrijheid kennen. Samen zijn we verantwoordelijk om vrijheid in stand te houden. Daarom herdenken we op 4 mei de oorlogsslachtoffers. En vieren we op 5 mei dat we in vrijheid leven. Geef vrijheid door. Ga naar 4en5mei.nl.
Midvliet FM 1072 1079.
Midvliet, staat je radio aan.